Welcome back to the NAL. DZ going up against M80 coming up right now. Both of these teams looking to prove themselves to be the top dog in the league, and honestly only one can take it because it is a single round robin. As a reminder, I'm your host Ginu, joined with Fox and Lax. We're gonna dissect this one because a lot of hype behind this game considering how both of these teams have performed last week.
Yeah, I mean, both these teams, they're sitting at the top currently. Well, obviously that's changed now with the SR win, but one of these teams could continue to sit at the top depending how this game goes. But both these teams have actually been looking very well in their own right. And I think today, and like you were saying, this is a highlight game or the game of the day. And I think it's respectfully so. Both these teams are performing at their highest.
No, but how sad would it be if it's like a 7-0?
Yeah, that would definitely be.
We've seen crazier things, I'd say.
We have, but jumping to the roster of Darkzero, I mean, everyone's familiar with these faces by now. Obviously, there's a little more Brits on this team now. Citizen's been the forefront of this roster in terms of overall performance, but what we've talked about for this team is their versatility. And you have a great IGL, you have great prep, you have great players. The best way I can sum up this team to be one word, it's versatile. Ooh. And when I'm talking about the versatility within this roster, it really comes down to their dynamic of play and what their playmaking ability is there. Yep. And specifically in their last matchup that they had, that's something that I really want to highlight on that just speaks into the great prep, great players, and great IGL. This is going to be your standard basement take. They're going to open up Garage. Now, I do want to highlight Citizen here because this was actually really well done on the Twitch run here, being able to eliminate all of the utils so they do get this open for free, and then just being able to get away. But I really want you to pay attention to that time because the time is everything here, and to notice once we transition into rounds. But they start taking their initial take here and clearing out the players at 1.5 minutes left. Then the round starts falling into the final execute where realistically Darkzero played this perfectly. The only thing they didn't understand is this cross that the Bandit ended up having, and that goes for them losing the round. Now the immediate transition once they switch into then reapproaching this site for me is, again, look at that time. And there was such little mistakes that they made that instead of repeating the exact same situation and the exact same mistakes, they just then instead switch their entire attack, cut the round in half, and approach the site differently. And Fox, we know as an IGL and you being as a player, when you're in those situations and you make small mistakes from one round to the next, sometimes you just will easily go back, approach that site, fix those small mistakes, get the round. DZ says, no, we're going to switch up the entire take. We're going to cut the round in half and then execute it flawlessly, which is exactly what we saw them do.
Yeah, you could obviously try to run the same thing, but the other team has seen a version of it. So obviously it's a lot easier to get countered against. So when you go into it a second time, sometimes the easy option is just to throw a different look at it, bring the blitz, go a lot faster. If time was the biggest concern, which it was, you now bring the blitz, you try to change that, you try to cut off the roamers, and it just correct the issues before they even become issues. If time was one of the main things that made the plant not go down because the Bandit had a line of sight, like instead of just dealing with all of the little things, just focus on the big stuff, which was the time. They did it perfectly.
And also focus on individual player performances. Yes. Hanba specifically one that we wanted to highlight from last week.
Yeah, we've said this a lot throughout the NAL. Everyone's known to it now, but Pamba Party Time, I mean, that's the best representation right there. 25-11 so far throughout his NAL debut. 5-0 on entry. I mean, this is a player that we've talked about a long time when he first joined Darkzero and kind of where it's been. And where it's been as of recently, we haven't really seen him at the forefront, and a lot of that big change was more so the fact of the dynamic and how DZ has played, because back in the day they were very static, which when you think of Pamba as a player, he's a slow, methodical, strong player, and when they switched it up and they ramped things up, they made it a lot faster, he started to digress in play. But I think he's now finding his footing and finding his place and where it suits him best, and we're starting to see that Pamba Party Time light up.
Yeah, it's going to be a question if he can replicate it against a roster like M80, because when we're looking at M80, they've done really well, and it feels like the time and effort that they have been saying that they're putting in is coming to fruition.
I mean, it has been showing, but I'd say from their week 1 performance, it was great. I wouldn't say it was perfection. Obviously, going into week 2, it was consistency. Time and time again, as the seasons progress, we always look to M80 to be a lot more consistent. And that's something that we just haven't seen. And even though, yes, they got away with 2 wins in week 1, it wasn't that great. And one of the biggest things that stood out to me was their opening kill conversion. They were so bad at opening kills. They were honestly one of the worst teams in the league when it came to opening kills. But they were still winning because of all that time and effort that they've been putting into practice. When they're on the man disadvantage, they honestly play a lot better because they're focused on how we're going to bring this back. And with hot and cold in the server, just leading the rest of the team. They've been so good at it. But a specific reason on why their entries have been pretty bad has also been because of the role change where they put Diffuser on that more of a utility flex character. So he plays a lot of these positions where he is either the flank watch or the support, and he has so much util. And all his job is use all of that utility, set up those nomads, set up the gridlock tracks, set up the ace charges. And once everything is set up, then you have that freedom to go entry. And Diffuser is the best team currently on, the best player currently on M80. And obviously he's finding success, but it's been taking a lot of a drastic change for M80 to figure out what their entry status is gonna be.
I actually really like that we're highlighting Diffuser in this sense, because we're usually just talking about him just more so getting the kills, getting into the nitty gritty, getting the job done. But the fact he's able to develop his sort of play and his character, it's such a great thing to see for these young players, to be challenged, to be tested, to not be so used to doing something comfortable to them that now he's going to step in a different light, but he's excelling in it like he was already doing this prior.
Yeah, and with that as well, I mean, the map veto is going to be coming up next in terms of like, do we want these teams to go somewhere where we can see an absolute banger of a game? Or would you want them to play it safe, keep it simple, keep it basic, and maybe bring a map out that we've already seen again?
Basic is definitely, no, I think no matter what map we're going to end on, it's going to be a slugfest either way. I mean, both the IGLs of this roster and the prep. You think Border?
Border.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, either way, this is going to be a slugfest, and Border is no exception to having it be a slugfest. We already talked about in the Cloud9 match, when you're trying to enter this map on attack, which DZ is going to be started on, you are going to be met with a formidable opponent right out the gates. Like I said, in those power positions of top east, going into break, going into dome, you are always going to be fighting. So I'm really expecting good shield play coming out of DZ to try to gain that power position, and then possibly on the back end, maybe M80 gets rid of those shields to make their defenses half even smoother.
I was really excited seeing Border. I looked at the map bans and I was like, if I'm both teams, what would I feel like would be the best matchup for both teams? And it would be Border, but I didn't think Darkzero would want to risk going to Border against M80 just because of the team style, play styles swap ups. M80 has a lot of aggressive fraggers, whereas DZ, you know, they're still testing stuff out with getting spirits in. But obviously, I mean, they have spirits now. So shields are going to be a big question when it comes to Border. Him getting into the map, if spirits can be that spearhead that DZ need, I think DZ will be in a comfortable situation going.
So that means that your prediction is going for DZ specifically?
My prediction, yeah, I'm going to go for DZ. I think DZ is the best team in the league right now.
Okay, you guys at this point should like hug and shake hands because everything is like agreeable.
Well, to be fair, I swapped on the Cloud9 game. I originally had. Well, no, I'm not swapping here. I think DZ is going to have the right strats going into this, the right prep, because I do think it is definitely a little bit of a risk. It is a questionable decision for me, but I think it does make sense for them and how they want to approach M80.
All right, let's see. Maybe our casters would like to disagree. Maybe they want to agree. I have absolutely no idea. But you know, Jesse and Taro, guys, just say something fun.
Both of these teams started the day tied in first place overall, but due to the results of other teams, they've slipped down the standings. Now it's time for one of them to, if they win in regulation, regain their crown and vault back to the top. Do you want to make a prediction, Jesse, about which one you think is going to win?
You know what, Parker? I'll go against the desk. Why not? I think M80 are a great team. I mean, this is the most recent squad that's won an international tournament for North America. They've obviously been together for quite a long time. Gunner, Diffuser, Hot, and Gavin as a core. They've just made one real swap since that major winning roster, and that was picking up Kino in place of Spirits, who is now on the other side of things, going against his former team of Darkzero. So we'll see how this comes out. I do have to say, historically, the record does side with the desk's prediction. DZ have won the last 4 encounters up against the M80 org, not losing since stage 1 last year, over 15 months ago. But it's a brand new set of players. Obviously, M80's changed their roster quite a bit since then, so have Darkzero. So I do think this could be the sign for M80 to break that streak and make the bounce back to take out DZ.
What we do know is that both of these teams have tons of experience on their side. This DZ roster is very well known. Many of those players still here from when they won the Charlotte Major years ago. M80 is effectively the old Beast Coast squad that won the Manchester Major about a year and a half ago, give or take. about a year ago, I guess closer maybe to a year ago at this point.
Yeah.
Plus Kino, of course. Kino has been a mainstay on this M80 roster for quite some time. And they swapped out Spirits rather for him. And Fabian now will be the head coach behind them, as Fett, who was the major winning coach that stood behind that team when they played under the Beast Coast banner, has gone on to greener pastures, aka I believe a PhD that he is currently studying for. And you know, you don't need a PhD to be a great coach, but I'm sure it would make Fett a little bit better than he already was did he ever choose to come back and not work in his field. That said, Darkzero and M80 will get things underway, and we'll start with the operator bands. Anything funky you expect here for this border, Jesse?
Nope, I'd expect to see an Azami coming out. There it is. Blitz taken out for the attackers. Not an opera that we saw getting banned first phase in our last border game earlier today. That was the very first one. I've been hoping to see a Smoke plus Azami ban. Didn't see it this time nor in our previous game. It'll be Azami plus Warden, but perhaps a little bit more funky. We've got M80 taking out the Glaz, which I actually think makes a lot of sense up against Darkzero. DZ have long been a team that have favored the Glaz. We've seen how good Glaz can be on border, really effective for that top floor. If you're going for a rush straight through archives, can be good if you're going for a rush on bathroom as well. You see him on vents. Really, anytime you're going for a fast execute, Glaz can be a great choice to cut off some angles of the attackers getting back to site. See through those smokes that you're likely going to be using anyways to cover the plants. Not going to be used though in this game, as that Glaz does get taken out. And M80 right off the bat going to a bit of an odd bomb site. Ventilation Workshop, usually the third choice for teams, but sometimes teams like to be creative and switch around the rotation anyways.
Yeah, that is that's a fun one to start off on. This is our second border of the day for those that had not tuned in. And let's just say that our first border was an exciting but hectic affair. It was Space Station versus Cloud9. I'm not going to spoil the results of that matchup. You might hear us reference it throughout the cast just because we use it as a talking point, but it's not something I'm going to go out of my way to address. M80 will start off with a spawn peek. That's Gunner playing a bit of a cheeky angle over by the break room door, roaming as a Valkyrie. All black eye cams have been set up. Persistent versus active gadgets will be something worth watching with this M80 squad. Lots of active gadgets on the side of M80. Solus dies, there goes the gadget. Oryx dies, there goes his ability to dash. Diffuser dies, there goes those gas canisters, and any goo mines that are still set up by Gavin will remain, but any future ones will be gone. Gunner eliminating NJR as DZ seemed to want an early push. Panbazoo was watching intently as Nave gets that diffuser down, and oh, he gets gunned down at the last second. Easy on the board as the nade gets sent out, and Hot and Cold drops. Spirits is dead as well. What a mess in this first minute of action. DZ assesses that there is an opening. They go for broke. They get caught flat-footed. Nafe is down for the count. Shotgun will come in. Citizen, the only one still upright for Darkzero. It's him against Diffuser and Gunner, all three of them able to strike, all with kills at this current point in time. I don't think Nafe is retrievable at this moment, Jesse, so Citizen will have 90 seconds to try to figure out where these two players remain, and he's got another death mark sent out in pocket after he determines where Gunner, who's currently under watch, is.
Hoping for this play. He won't know the other player's position, and both of those players will know his spot thanks to that tracker. Nice shot on the Gunner. Okay, this is winnable. 1v1 versus Diffuser.
We'll just simply play off each other. And there, Diffuser's position will go. This will quite literally be a showdown between the two of them as he keeps attempting it, but I think he heard the smoke get away. At this point, they will be at odds on opposite sides of the map, and smoke will be breathed in as Citizen powers through it to go retrieve that diffuser. That diffuser will be looking over top of. Quick move over now towards the A-bomb site for Citizen as that death mark is still active. Both of them very well aware of each other's positions. Diffuser has the read on it from above. He scares the Brit off of his position and sees the back leg, but for a second. Still two gas canisters as well. He's anticipating a push up the stairs. They've made a sound call. Somebody's pinged for it, but Citizen is tucked in quite safely next to the grinder inside a workshop. And away he goes, now to find safety inside of customs. Playing off this angle with soft walls. He's expecting a swing from Diffuser, who has very limited intel as to where that plant went down. Remember, Diffuser thought it would be coming upstairs through metal. Now a drop, and will the angle be actively held, or will we see Citizen a little bit farther back? Diffuser running out of time at this point. Just a little bit over 10 seconds before that Diffuser reaches the point of no return, and he doesn't really have any info whatsoever. Citizen clobbers him, and Darkzero bails themselves out of a bad spot.
What a huge clutch to come out from Citizen, the newest pickup of Darkzero. You know, one of the top Reddit comments on that pickup after Citizen was announced to be added was, and I quote, "Citizen is past his prime and won't really be a big playmaker this season in the NAL." Well, I'll tell you what, not only is he making plays for Darkzero early in this game with a huge clutch in 3K in round number 1, he was also the #1 player in the entire North American League last week, putting up a 325 kill-death ratio, which is absolutely ridiculous, even through a small sample size of only 2 games. Citizen has been by far, I think, the most underrated player to play in the North America League this stage. A lot of people don't seem to rate him very highly, but that is a huge mistake. Finally, I feel like people in the community are starting to realize the skill that this guy has. I get it. You know, he's bounced around to a lot of different teams in his career, was on Sonics for a while, was on G2, was on Navi way back in the day. He's been around the block. But man, there's a reason top-level teams keep picking him up. And I think now that he's on DZ with a couple of his other UK comrades, he's starting to show exactly what he's made of.
Citizen Nath and Kangaroo Kenny, don't be fooled. Jesse thought that Kangaroo Kenny was from Australia because he has kangaroo in the name, but I had to set him straight and say, no, he's British.
I don't think that's exactly how that went.
I'm pretty sure that's exactly how it happened.
Okay. Well,
I'm pretty sure that's exactly how it happened. Here's a funny little quirk that we have going on right now, and it has nothing to do with the actual matches itself. If you go on Liquipedia and look at the results of the group stages of the very first play day, every team on the left side of the screen won. The very next day, the top 3 teams on the left side won. And since then, every single match has been won by the team on the right side of the screen, meaning that M80 should be the team that wins if that streak is to continue. It's always funny when things like this happen. Just something worth pointing out. I mean, hey, I've seen some of the predictions people in the community make, and judging it off of what side they're on a Liquipedia page could be more successful than what some people think.
Well, M80, defense on border, not always an easy task. I don't think they're going to feel too bad about that first round. Just go back quickly. Hot and Cold had a really nice Oryx stash to deny the plant. It looked like they were going to win the first round. Stolen a little bit by Citizen. I like the Utso work from DZ early. Spirits up against his former team using these explosive drones to clear out some of the castle barricades, some of the barbed wire. We saw M80 looking for a spawn peak in the first round, didn't find it. This time they've been a little bit more reserved, but that doesn't mean Gunner's not still hungry.
Depending on where Gunner lives, it's either well past dinner time or it's closing in on dinner time, or as you call it, supper.
He's West Coast, so, you know, it's about that time. Closing in.
Kino searching for his first kill on the side of M80. It's been a whole 4 minutes into this match, and he still doesn't have one just quite yet. Well below his own standards. Both gas and fire await Nafe as he's now outside on the balcony, having to deal with both Diffuser and Kino hunting him down. A lot of those Molotovs have been fired out by the Shumika. Spirit strikes first, down goes Gavin. Fenrir will have a active gadget, or a passive gadget rather, that will continue to activate as people close in. One final Molotov onto the head of Nafe as Kino gets dropped. Excellent start to this round by DZ. And I say start because, well, it's flown by and not a lot has happened. Final 30 seconds. M80 suffering through it. NJR downed, but it'll take some time for Diffuser to get his eyesight back. M80 doubling up on kills, numbers drawn even, but Kino still bleeding out means the advantage at the moment is with the purple team on the left side of your screen. Diffuser and Houghton, major champions working side by side. Diffuser gets one, but the jig is up. Swung on by Nafe, and it's Hot and Cold, last alive. Nafe with Diffuser in hand, bullets go whizzing over his head, and excellent coverage by Panbazoo as former teammates on the side of DZ shut him down. Goodbye to Hot and Cold, Panbazoo the coverage, and that's 2 in a row for DZ.
Another round where I thought M80 had a really good shot at it. We saw a Diffuser in a super powerful position just playing inside of offices. 20 seconds left. You cannot allow a defender to still be posted up inside of offices. That's typically one of those places that you need to be clearing out early. You can toss nades from the skylight. You can breach the wall with a Habana, but with NJR dying early and with those nades maybe just not landing where they wanted to. He was a huge thorn in their side. Didn't matter though. The trades were so good from DZ, continuing to push in, continue to focus that objective as they so commonly do, shutting down a clutch from Hot and Cold as well, who up until this point has been the single best clutch player in the North America League, winning 3 out of his 4 1vx situations last week. That'll fall to 3 out of 5, but still a good statistic for the captain of M80. I don't feel like they played a bad game, Parker, but Darkzero in these late rounds, they just know how to clutch up. They've been really, really nice.
Yeah, they're doing very, very well. I misspoke amidst the frenzy, by the way. Pamazoo and Hot and Cold never actually teamed together. They're former org mates is what I meant to say. Like teammates isn't like they played for the same org. They never played on the same roster, actually. It was Hot and Cold leaving that initially allowed Pamazoo to come in a couple months later. But yeah, I mean, DZ's going through a new identity. I know that there was a lot of criticism that was leveled at NAF. You couldn't avoid it. If you were on the subreddit, if you were on social media, if you were on anything that talked about professional Rainbow Six, Canadian moving off of that roster and Nave taking over as the sole leader of DZ led to some hurt feelings amongst the community and amongst fans, and there were many that were gleefully cheering on the downfall of DZ. But they've made changes, and now it's Nave's team. They brought in Citizen, Kangaroo Kenny as the coach. All of these things mean a new identity for Darkzero, and people just didn't seem to give them enough time to find that identity. It's come in now. They are a quicker team, something that DZ has never been accused of in the past. And as you can see from just these 2 rounds and all their previous matches up to this point of the NA League, they are much quicker to the punch. And the depth that comes with Darkzero will obviously benefit them in the long run. They have their work cut out for them against M80, but so far, so good. 2 attacking rounds on border and 2 wins for DZ.
Very horizontal push coming out from Darkzero. They've let Spirits jump onto that Monty. They banned his blitz, so he can't play that, but can still get good info for his team. This smoke will stop a crossfire and allow them entrance straight into the site.
In they go, yet again. Second time a shield has found its way into the bomb site, but the same result will be met by the defuse carrier, gunned down. Scene of the crime right now, just outlined so well with that yellow flourish. 4 players remain on M80. The only one that's taken some damage is Diffuser, still posted up watching the bomb chassis quite intently from inside a passport as Nafe and NJR remain for Darkzero. Dave's position will be given away, and Gavin was just biding his time until the barbed wire did most of the work. Now it's NJR to go for the trade, and he gets it. Trades out Diffuser, but finally M80 get on the board. We've seen a number of rotations that have been successful for one particular team. Will not happen for DZ. No 3 rounds in a row. M80 finally wins one as a defending squad, and now they will go to operator bans.
Castle Ying both being removed. Thought we might see that Demos at their Citizens' ridiculous clutch on the operator, but no, they go for the Ying instead. Another one of those classic Darkzero operators, one that Spirits has absolutely abused in recent months. And you go back in DZ's history, used to be a big operator for Pambazoo as well. About a year or 2 back where he used to really dominate with that op. I thought Hot and Cold's sight play there was really fantastic. They had no idea he was tucked up on the bathroom. That's an odd position for a defender to play, but paid off big time for Hot and Cold to be able to get that good anchor play. Again, he's been kind of quiet now, 3-2. Maybe not really been the most statistically flashy player, but I think his play so far this game has been fantastic, and so hopefully we'll see more big stuff coming out from him. Nice to see M80 on the board early as well. They won't have access to the castle going forward in this game, which is a bit of a rare ban on border, but paired with that Azami on some of these sites can be really effective too.
10 seconds remaining.
The Solus play is really what's intriguing me at the moment. This is the second time this operator is going to emerge. Solus's pick rate is way, way, way down there.
Yep.
To the point where I honestly want to say I think we've seen Cav as frequently as we have seen Solus up to this point in the NA League, but you have to actually pull those numbers. It's the same spawn peak that Gunner went for before, by the way. He just did it, or maybe it was Diffuser who did it. I'm unsure, but M80 did go for this exact same spawn peak through that break room door. Gunner will hightail it out of there after realizing, well, if they don't show up in the first 30 seconds, they're probably not showing up at all.
8 rounds on Solus, by the way. Just 1 from Cav heading into today's playday.
Wow, you fact checked me in real time.
Listen, I can get speedy with it sometimes. This
Are you
top floor...
DZ?
Only sometimes, Parker. Only sometimes. This Darkzero team, they've got to deal with the top floor pressure. Gunner, Hot, and Kino making this 3-man hold up above. Gavin's actually rotated up as well, leaving just Diffuser. Diffuser's rotated up. Okay. They're moving all over the map, Parker. They do this on the side of M80, having some rotations. We talk about Darkzero's speed, and I wouldn't disagree with you to say that they're a much faster team than they used to be, but they also will take their time if they need to. Here's Gunner for a run out, using the impact, but whipping all his shots. Oh, Gunner. Not what you were hoping to accomplish with that. He had the perfect opportunity to kill NJR. That would have been Diffuse Kid on the ground. That would have been the hard breacher gone, but no. Punished instead for that aggressive play.
I mean, he was about a half second too late. As you saw that repel happen, and as anybody who's played this game knows, repels can get a little goofy with those hitboxes, and he misses out on it. I mean, it looked like he also missed most of his shots, but let's just ignore that for the time being. Diffuser and Gunner, the 2 casualties on the side of M80, as Darkzero has now grown their numbers advantage by 1, and it will grow yet again as Gavin dies. You saw Gavin on the run in small office, throwing down a Zoto canister to try to chill out the attackers who have found a new pace, just a new level for DZ at this point as they sweep through the 2 final players on M80 and take a flawless round.
I mean, so far, it's so clean, so patient. It's really tough to do that on a map like Border. This is usually a map that really emboldens defenders to go for big plays, such as that run-up we saw from Gunner. But no matter what, Darkzero look really ready for it, whether that's because they've got spirits on the team that's maybe given them a little, told them some of the tricks that this M80 team likes to play with, or just because they know how M80 like to play, especially on an aggressive map like this. Darkzero aren't rushing into anything. You know, we talk about the pace once again. Some of these rounds have been a little bit slower. Round 2 was really slow. We didn't get a gunfight till like 30 seconds the round. That one was slow too. They didn't really enter the building until already they got a couple of kills. And what happened on M80's side? And they get a little antsy. We see a little bit of a run-out play. We see some swings that maybe they shouldn't have gone for. We see M80 not feeling super comfortable inside the site, and so they're forced to make those plays happen. There's still a lot of pressure being thrown their way as well. Util-wise, Deimos was a big factor in that round. We saw Dokkaebi calls being used there too. I like the Tubarão on the defense, used to stop that Deimos tracker from affecting. The Tubarão will counter Deimos. That's why we saw the Deimos get tossed at the feet. But ultimately, it didn't matter. It's one more thing you got to worry about. It's one more thing that is applying pressure and drawing your attention away on the side of M80. So just getting a little antsy on this defensive side, making moves that maybe don't want to have to make, and Darkzero are punishing it super cleanly.
Very rare that we see an attacker-sided map at this current point in time in Siege X. We did just witness one on Cafe, so it's not something we never see, but... We referenced this in the Cloud9 SSG matchup, that Border is one of the few maps that can be quite friendly to attackers for a number of reasons. The close quarters combat, the fact that gunfights are straight on, you just have to take engagements, and with attackers you have a lot of ways to punish people playing at close angles. You don't have a lot of walls that you can shoot through. There are a lot of hard walls on Border. There are not as many hard floors, admittedly, but verticality is not always the biggest focus of this map. It does tend to be a bit more straightforward, a bit more linear. The attackers have a good shout at pinching these defenders. Defenders have very few places to go, fewer places to hide, and only a couple options for them to drop floors, usually hatches or that lobby area. If you've got a good entry as an attacking team, you can punish roamers really effectively.
Eyes on Gavin to start this round, perhaps, playing inside of security. Instead, it's a quick entry in through East. That'll be Gavin's silhouette on the other side of that hard wall. Don't know if they know how deep Pamba's gotten. He's been really good on the entry for Darkzero all stage long. Had not lost a single opening duel coming into this matchup. Sees a mirror window and decides to back off. He knows he doesn't need to take a point here. Again, we're seeing a couple of teams just not really commit to holding East stairs, which is a little bit rare, but with that Azami ban, maybe it just gets a little bit too tough for teams. Other teams like to run it with a smoke instead to lock down East stairs, but different strokes and different folks.
Knock, knock.
Opens things up for Darkzero to take this ground for free, and that might allow them to put a little bit more pressure on the break room, which you're already seeing as NJR is going to start using some of these X-Kairos pellets.
There goes the very first death mark from the pocket of Citizen as it tracks down Gavin. You saw Citizen use this same gadget to great success in the post plant just a couple rounds ago. Gunner was not the intended target, but down he goes. Nafe gets picked apart by a frost mat at the top of the stairs, and that will be or rather through a window. Apologies, that is something that will be a rude awakening for this DZ team. Nafe will be debuffed for quite a while. That Frostmat debuff lasts a lot longer than you think, and it also feels quite miserable to have to deal with. Gavin goes for the swing knowing that DZ is closing in on him, and he gets punished. Diffuser firing back. The only kill so far by M80 is they want to keep numbers close. 1 minute to go. Very little utility remains in pocket for M80. Basically all in the hands of Kino at this point. One magnet, one impact. Beyond that, it's DZ in the driver's seat. They also are relatively utility starved, except for a couple nades and a smoke and one remaining logic bomb.
Citizen, there's a guy right above him, but he just can't find the timing to get this pick. Also, Pamba outside the building could try to find that player inside of offices. Diffuser still back inside of Fountain as well. Houghton in the site, Kino with him. Clearing Diffuser's got to be the next step. He got that really important pick on a Spirits that stopped this push. Now they need to find an answer as soon as this clock hits the time that they're looking for.
I'll have to flush Diffuser out of this position, but double duty is here as they sprint on in. He's punished for it, and the look on his face says it all. He knew it was coming. Now it's hot and cold, tucked into the corner. Kino killless. He will need to find one as he's the last one left. A bevy of targets, but he doesn't hit even one. Kino left empty-handed despite 4 players from Darkzero in front of him. A devastating result for the final 2 players of M80, and DZ continues their reign of terror in this match.
I mean, this is the thing, though, Parker, right? Even if Kino gets 1 kill, he's fighting 4 players. He's never winning that clutch. And you go back to that 4v3 situation, all 3 of those players on M80 completely by themselves. Diffuser inside a Fountain fighting 2 players at once, not able to really get anything done from that. Then you've got Houghton in the site being pushed 2 players, 1 high, 1 low, not able to kill both of them. They're both swinging the doorway, able to get a trade if they need to. And then, yeah, I mean, 4 bodies sprinting to Kino. Odds are somebody's going to be able to get that frag. So it really feels like Darkzero are playing a very coordinated, teamwork-focused style of Siege that M80 just aren't able to match on the defense side of Border. Again, when you're in a low man count situation, you don't always have that luxury of being able to play that aggressively, play that together when you don't control what gunfights are being taken at what times. But it really feels like that's been a difference maker for Darkzero. They're always able to play together, and it certainly helps that they're all hitting some beautiful shots so far today, too.
Very impressive stuff from a team that you're absolutely right is playing like a unit. I will say DZ doesn't usually have problems when it comes to cohesion. This is not a team of individuals, right? We talk about certain teams being more individualistic in their approach to maps. You know, that old Rogue squad that was in North America, that Easy and Slashug and Vert and all them on it. They would often play like a team of individuals. The old Obey Alliance in North America looked very similar. SK for periods of time had that same issue very temporarily before they would end up getting moved around from orgs. They were actually the ones that ended up getting picked up by DZ, at least the core of that roster. This DZ squad bought into a system when Canadian came on, and it gave the whole team a new identity. And now with Nafe, it's a completely different system that they're playing. But yeah, I mean, they play well. They play well together. And when you are playing well and you are playing together, things tend to go quite well.
Thinking sometimes the drones might be the issue. You've got Vigil, you got Mute, you got Solus as well. All good drone encounters on the side of M80. Not that Gavin's position is going to be a huge secret. Playing inside security, one of the most common spots we see, but the direct information certainly will still be prevented thanks to that Vigil gadget. Diffuser's holding East Stairs in the smoke, something I mentioned earlier as well with the Logic Bomb. You got to think this might be the push, but so far I don't see Darkzero actually entering. Instead, it's just M80 conceding some ground, saying we don't need to hold East Stairs. It's not the bomb site. The site's still down below. It's not the most important position for us. Still doesn't matter, though. Opening pick from Spirits. They're so patient on Darkzero, dude.
Just waiting for this M80 team to get a bit restless, and they're giving them heaps of opportunities to do that. Funny enough, the 2 rounds where we saw such obvious spawn peeking, rounds 1 and I think it was rounds 4, were not punished very quickly by Darkzero. That was the very first round, if you recall. They ignored the spawn peeking entirely in favor of breaking into the bomb site. This same bomb site that we're seeing M80 defend on for the last time. A 5-1 first half in favor of Darkzero would be devastating for M80, and we did build this as what might be the matchup of the day. On paper, it certainly looks like it. 2 teams both sitting alone atop the standings. Surely this is going to be a close match. Well, Darkzero was thinking something else. The French Canadian of Spirits takes down a second target. He's on a revenge tour against his former team. All 5 of the major winners from that old Beast Coast squad are in this server. Spirits just happens to be on a different team. Kino outdueled by Pambazoob, not before he's taken down Nafe, leaving Gunner and Hot and Cold. Nitro cells both expended at this point. All the action happening on that top floor. 10 seconds left, and down goes Hot and Gunner with the dig out. Good enough for 1, but a 5-1 half is exactly what will happen. DZ all smiles, but there's still business to be done, and they know the job is far from over. Side swap coming in, and now DZ will move to defense.
Kino getting his first kill of the game just in round number 6, being able to take down Nafe. The 2 players in this lobby, the only 2 players that have not won a major international event. Of course, the core of Beast Coast, all in this lobby, as you said, won that major early last year. Core of Darkzero, of NJR and Pamba winning the Charlotte major a couple years back, and then Citizen all the way back on that Na'Vi squad winning in Tokoname. Leaves just these last 2 support players on either side who have yet to win a title. Darkzero got to be feeling really good after that first half. Not only are they up 5-1 moving over to defense, Darkzero are the single best defensive team in the North America League. They won 78% of their defenses in the first week of play. They had some maybe easier opponents. You could certainly make that argument, but regardless, this is a team that knows how to defend. If you're an M80 fan, don't fret too hard about that statistic, because M80 were also the single best attacking team through the first week, so they should be just as good swapping onto the second side. But I gotta tell you, the momentum is all on the way of Darkzero at the moment. Citizen is playing out of his mind. It feels like Spirits knows exactly what his former teammates are gonna do, and he has their numbers. And as we load into the game, it does feel like Darkzero are fully in control.
I mean, these players did move around quite a lot. Remember, it was Diffuser and Gunner who went to M80. Hot and Cold was playing on that unwanted squad for a while there. You know, it's not like they all just got moved over directly. Gavin and Houghton from Unwanted, Diffuser and Gunner were on that team very briefly. They came over to M80, and obviously things are going to be changed in the interim. But if DZ wins, it will be interesting to hear if this is basically the same structure that Spirit saw when he was on that team. Because if so, as we've heard in interviews in the past, it is entirely within reason that they didn't change up enough, and Spirits is reading them like a book, like you suggested.
Yeah, it wasn't a direct pickup, you're right. First 2 players moved to M80. That was Gunner, Diffuser, and then M80 picked up the other 2. So it's not like they intentionally chose to drop Spirits for Kino. They just so happened Spirits was the one player the org didn't want to pick up. Now I'm sure he's feeling quite good about where he's landed, though. He's an excellent player and has landed on such an excellent team, too. This is one strategy for sure. They banned out Clash, they banned out Smoke. They left the Zombie on the board, which is what a lot of players over towards East would want to be using for this hold. But instead, NJR has chosen the Tachanka. I cannot say I've ever seen this strategy played out before. Typically, a Zombie, as I said, would be what you'd expect, but NJR's clearly got some kind of an idea. Maybe he really just wanted to play the Smoke, and with that banned out, this is his next best option.
Yeah, entirely possible. Smoke bans are always very intriguing to watch here, Jesse. Oregon smoke bans are always intriguing to watch. I mean, that map is no longer in the map pool, but smoke still has quite a pronounced impact on any map that has tight corridors, and Order just so happens to be one of those maps, as we talked about a couple rounds ago. I will say Darkzero did slow down a little bit towards the later rounds of that first half. How is M80's pace? What is their timing like? Hot and Cold will likely play shields through most of these rounds, just as Spirits did through a lot of the time for Darkzero. And it looks like it might actually be a very quick execute here. 1:30 still left on the clock, and Hot and Cold bursting on in. They will immediately peel out of that position. The Chichanka doing some serious damage as NJR continues to push him back, and it's quite the battle. He doesn't hold the diffuser. It's an absolute mess, a goddamn mess inside of the site. Gunner gets the plant down as there go more fire into the corner. Those Molotovs doing some damage. No. Diffuser might be retrievable as that clock continues to run away. Kino and Gunner both on upside down rappel. This is a very challenging angle to deal with as a defender. There's still 3 bodies up from DZ. They're going to burst 3 from these windows and be met at the end of a weapon. Kino taking down Spirits. Who's next one to vault out? NJR and Nath getting really close to the point of no return. The attackers win. They punish them all. M80 celebrates, and a befuddling round comes to an end.
You got to remember that bathroom and Teller's bomb site on border, one of the easiest post plants for attackers to play. They know they can just sit outside on the rappel. If you try to get on that disabled, they're absolutely going to hit you from the upside down rappel. It's almost an impossible situation. You cannot let them get this plant down. M80 clearly saw what Darkzero were doing. It was 5 guys top floor, if you include NJR, who was playing around East Stairs. He was kind of towards the bottom of East, but I'm going to count it. Eventually, we saw NJR get back to site, but he took so long dueling with that blitz that he just didn't have time to deal with the player that was planting just inside the window. It was a bit of an awkward way to get to the site. They went all the way through customs, all the way through workshop, but that's where the gap was. Darkzero had no defenders on that side of the map. They tried to play everybody up above and just weren't able to respond to how quickly M80 got to the site. So really nice push by M80, really nice rush. Starts things off very strong on their side, which is good. Getting a bit of confidence after that dreadful first half. I talk about M80 being the #1 attacking team in the North America League. Plays like that are kind of why.
Attackers are heading out to defuse a bomb.
I mean, you still only got 2 rounds to show for it, so if you're going to be the best attacking team, Jesse, there's a lot more work for them to do. But again, we talk about nuisance ops. M80 is bringing a lineup that would make most people want to rage quit a ranked game. Sens, Blitz, Ying, Finka. Nomad's there too, I guess, just for added aggravation and to make sure that if you're going to go for a quick push, that there's nobody to handle it. And a quick push is certainly possible with the operators on the board. Gotta cut through those castle barricades first before you can get on in. That was Gunner's job, and now he'll go on to drone. Easy, well spread out, but they are expecting an armory take at the moment.
Yeah, this push is probably coming in right now. There's the first stim. They're all up the metal stairs. Everybody charging forward.
I'm curious as to where Gunner will be. The charge in does not work quite so well. 3 players down for the count. Spirits team kills Citizen. So things get ugly on the side of DZ. Suddenly it's Nathan Gunner in a 1v1. The entire server cleared out in a matter of seconds. The question will be, what's Nave's priority? Get Spirits back up? That it will be. A 1v1 becomes a 2v1 with Gunner staring down the wrong side of that equation. He's finished off by Nafe. Goodness gracious, DZ rebuffing that rush. A go for broke strategy from M80. They were quick to the punch in the previous round. This time, it's an absolute mess, and DZ now sit on match point.
Beautiful stuff from Nafe in the 1v1. One of the most dependable late round defenders in the entire world. Last week, Nafe had just 3 deaths total on the defensive side, playing through 2 separate BO1 matches, which kind of goes to show just how strong he's been. He got in a good amount of gunfights, too. He had 12 kills on the defensive side, so it's not like he was just hiding from everyone, not taking gunfights. He's really good at surviving to that late round, that when you put him in that clutch situation, you know he's going to be able to step up and win it for his teammates. That was a big one to be able to lock down, force Darkzero over to match point. From M80, I mean, they had 1 successful rush. They said, why not try it again? If it's not broke, don't try to fix it. But I think their push up the metal stairs was read way too early. You know, that's something where you're hoping you don't get found out until you're already at the top of those stairs. You're already pushing in through the beepers into sight. You're already maybe sending some players towards Fountain, towards 90. But I think it was NJR that just had a good read on it, was immediately swinging those metal stairs, said, yeah, I see him coming. I know where everybody's at. They weren't exactly subtle about it, and he was in position. So good stuff from Darkzero to recognize what was going on, stunt that push as fast as they could. That top floor bomb site can sometimes be tricky, especially with the rush going up metal. Normally you see it over towards Archives, but just not there for DZ, for M80 I should say. And now DZ going to one of the rarest bomb sites in Siege. It is custom supply, Parker.
I mean, if you're going out in style, and I mean that in the right way. DZ wins this round, and my goodness, what a big brain moment we will be witnessing. This is historically a terrible bomb site, and one that has a very, very low pick rate, as low as Cav and Solus, as we talked about earlier in this match. M80 might just want to burst on in. Yeah, this is 3 rounds in a row where they're going to be very quick to the punch, but NJR is poised and ready to greet them all. He finds 2 from his position inside of Customs. Smoke will obscure yet another. M80 falling by the wayside. 2 rounds in a row that DZ has torn strips through them. Diffuser and Gunner, major winners, working so well together, but now in the clutch, whatever work they have just got an awful lot harder. Diffuser with that case in hand, M80's last hope in this matchup. DZ looking to cement themselves as the undisputed top team of NA. All they have to do is find Diffuser, and they'll do just that. Panba party time as DZ can fist pump and smile now that the job is done. 7-2 the scoreline. We expected a competitive match. We didn't get it. Not at all. DZ pulverize M80.
Foxy on the desk called them the best team in North America, and there is little doubt after that domination over the last NA major champions. That is a huge game for Darkzero, a statement matchup, and will continue to vault them right back up to first place in the standings.
No more sharing the spotlight, at least not for today, they have sole possession. Our final matchup of the day will have no impact whatsoever on the top of the standings, so DZ can enjoy the moment for about 20-ish hours, give or take. I do really want to hear from that man right here, or at least somebody on the team to talk to him, because I want to know if Spirits had some insight into what transpired in that matchup. It's been a relatively quick day. We've still got one more match left. It's LFO Orgless going up against Team Cruelty. But before we get there, a word from our winners after this break. See you soon.
Guys, reset. Just double up in CC.
Yeah. I'm metal. I can pick off you. I'm walking at him.
Big shit, guys. GG's. D fucking G's.
Yes! The border, baby!
Bro,
We
they
did
did
it!
cheese off
Let's
every
go!
single round.
Come on!
Citizen, they want you for interview if you can hear me.
Your lips. I think I read your lips, and I think I know exactly what you said, and I'm gonna have to agree with you. I mean, I think it's safe to say DZ's looking like the best team in the NAL.
Why are you gonna say it like that?
You said it so seductively. I mean, I think it's a good way to put it. I mean, I think DZ definitely is the best team in the NAL. Obviously, that was a great displayment.
Yeah.
Obviously, top 2 teams. I mean, DZ beat down on M80, especially on Border, a map that I would have thought would be the one map that M80 would have more of an edge on, but Darkzero looked like they was all them the whole time. They had such a good understanding of how they wanted to get into the building, how they were pretty much getting picks on M80 every single position. They were constantly getting that opening kill. I mean, Darkzero is really impressive to watch because this is a different Darkzero that we've never seen. We've seen Darkzero be slow. We've seen them implement spirits and work around them, but now we saw a fast and aggressive Darkzero, and that was, you know, revolutionary.
Yeah, and we have the blacklight detail as well. Is going to be going to Spirits. And do you want to call this revolutionary too?
Yeah, I mean, he's a revolutionary player. He leads the charge in many of these engagements in terms of playing that shield. But, sometimes he doesn't need to be on the shield. We've talked about how versatile he is, and now we're seeing him on Twitch. Now we're seeing him on Lion. I mean, he can do it all. And the fact he is a very strong piece of the puzzle for this roster, which helps them create success. Even in the video that I was talking about in terms of them switching their attacks, I mean, he then switches off to a shield, plays more aggressive, finds that success. I mean, Spirits is definitely a player that is helping this DZ roster really of make their mark in terms of transitioning their old static playstyle to a far more faster pace and faster at adapting.
I mean, absolutely. Not only is he adding the speed to it, he takes off a layer of pressure. He adds that comfortability of he's going fast, which is why players like Pamba are able to excel, because Spirits is taking all of the attention. He's getting in there, he's making all the noise. So great players can just get behind Spirits, go for the trade, or be able to get into their position easier with knowing that they're not going to be the primary focus. Spirits is the primary focus. You always got to worry about him, what he's playing, where he's going to be. And obviously, I mean, it's revolutionized. I think I used that correctly.
Yeah.
Revolutionized the way Darkzero plays.
English is difficult, but we also have the interview ready. We have Citizen from the side of Darkzero joining us. Congratulations, because with this win, you guys are cementing yourself for now to be the top team in the league. Another 3 points added to the tally. How does that feel? Would you agree with that testament right now when you look at yourself, when you look at the other teams in the NAL and say, yes, we are the best team right now?
Yeah, I'd say so, just because that's how we should think. But I think there's also really good teams in NL that we still have to watch out for. Like we still have to play SR, for example, who are also a good team. But I think right now I'd say probably are the best team right now.
Yeah, not only are you guys the best team, but obviously I've commended you guys on going to border. DZ, you guys have a little bit of a history when it comes to the way that you guys play. But since you and Spirits have joined the team, it's been a completely night and day difference on how you guys play. And going to a map like Border, which is arguably probably the most aggressive map that you have to be on, I mean, have you noticed that change throughout Darkzero since joining you and Spirits? Are you guys becoming more of an aggressive paced team? What does it feel like when it comes to the versatility that your guys' team has?
Yeah, I think aggressiveness is one thing, but I think it's just easy to push stuff now. Like you just got Zach, and I've played against him before, and it's just a terrible experience. So now he's on our team. It's just easy. You just follow him around. Like the pressure he puts on is just crazy. So, I think the aggressiveness just comes on how much pressure the opponents feel just from him being able to play the shields that well, you know.
Well, you take it on one end of the attacking side where you have that presence of Spirits, but something that I've really noticed as well, especially in this matchup for defense, your guys' side, it almost seemed you guys understood that when things were falling apart for M80, they were going to get aggressive. They were going to try to force bodies into you, but you guys were doing such a good job at bouncing off one another, playing that trade game, but meeting that same aggression just on that defensive end. I mean, what kind of speaks into that?
I mean, we just reading them. I don't know what to say, to be honest. We just had good prep from Kenny. So it's just easier to understand what they're going to do, what attack they want to focus, if they bring certain ops, what do we do, and obviously just reads in game what we're feeling, what we're seeing, we're just adjusting well and adapting well.
Would you say that M80 is just a easy team to play against? Is that what you're saying right now?
Well, 17 border seems pretty easy, So,
Okay.
But we'll wait and see after playoffs to make that statement.
All right, well, thanks so much for your time, and congratulations once again. Good luck tomorrow. We're just gonna let you go.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you. Cheers.
Now you gotta stir the pot a little bit, which is crazy because actually M80 in the interview that we had last week was oh, it's not that much more difficult to be more consistent than the last roster that was there. So I think this for them definitely a learning experience when it comes to that consistency, but also what is lacking. And I don't know, do you think is Fabian local to some of these players? Are you gonna give them a good shake?
I don't think so, but I was genuinely impressed with how well DZ thwarted off a lot of those attacks. I mean, M80 has a lot of aggressive players, and especially with Hot and Cold at that forefront of the shield and Diffuser on that backline, being able to be that player, that playmaker, but being able to just shut those players down in those moments where they excel in, I mean, you really have to give a lot of credit to DZ. And for M80, I mean, I think it's just a learning curve in that stand that you can't always fight these strong opponents at the forefront.
Yeah, I wish we would have been able to see their attacks a little bit more, because one thing I didn't understand is towards the end, once they started going for all those blitz rushes, it didn't really make sense to me. No. Blitz rush up metal stairs and then blitz rush through the front door into custom. We're not a part of the M80 team. We don't know what their game plan was going into it. If we would have had more rounds to see, maybe we would have been able to dissect that genius a little more. But it looked like they got flustered. And then everything was, all the game plan was out the window a little bit.
Yeah, you know what? We also still have to talk about game plan when it comes to Tier 2 Element. Just letting you guys know, you can sign up. Qualifiers 20th to 22nd. We have 2 retired pro players, which is why they're not actually on any of these teams, because they're sitting on the couch and talking about the games instead. So when it comes to Lax, I know you are a generational Tier 2 hater. But you gotta start somewhere,
Yeah,
bro.
you definitely got to start somewhere. And even for yourself, you know, you're talking about us, the vet players of sticking it. This is your opportunity right here. If you want to
good,
give up
thanks,
hosting,
yo,
you can go join the Element, get a little taste of competitive. But yeah, it is great for the grassroots of T2 to have this development, have this system in place to just get a feel and an understanding of what competitive really can feel like.
No, absolutely. I mean, as an IGL, when I led all my teams and
Back
we
in
were
the
looking
day.
for, when we were looking
Back
for
in my day.
new respective players to pick up, honestly, we would look at the T2 scene, and Element is a great place to be looked at from a professional aspect to grow as a player. And sometimes, you know, you can find some good gems down there, even if you don't qualify into the Pro League. I mean, when I was dropping lax, I was looking at the T2 scene pretty intently, and you know, I was wondering if there was going to be any player that could surpass Lax's abilities, and honestly, there wasn't. But we did it anyway, and obviously, you know, we know how that went out. So, but for you guys at home, try Element.
All right, for you guys at home, try Element. But also try and stay tuned in because we still have one more game left of today. We have Orgulus going up against Cruelty. So, all right, they're going to bicker and find out why he got dropped. We're going to go to a break. We'll be back shortly. Don't go anywhere.